I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chump some of this shit.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Oh, what's in the box?
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Cinema Sandbox. I'm Christopher G.
I'm Jordan Sherwood. Thank you for coming in today.
So today, we're talking about the 1999 film, The Mummy.
Starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz.
Kind of a throwback to a throwback to a throwback.
Yeah,
How many throwbacks are we going here?
We have been on a mummy craze for most of a century now here in American cinema. So
Yeah.
pretty much all of cinema history, the mummy craze has been alive and well.
But we're going to go back and look at the 1999 film because they just announced they're going to do a fourth movie in the Brendan Fraser timology. I don't know.
We're still a couple years out from it. It's going to release in 2028, but all of the main cast is coming back.
So we want to go back to this one at the time when there's another mummy film coming out in theaters.
Yeah, not of the same realm, but definitely the same title. The trailer makes it seem kind of like a haunted house type film, but that's not exactly what it is.
Yeah, from the director of Evil Dead Rises, so kind of almost a nice extension of what he was doing there.
Don't worry, Grandma. It's fun to be dead.
So there's a lot of mummy-related activity coming out in the near future, so we wanted to go back to the 1999 one that kind of started off a new wave of Egypt mania.
This was directed by Stephen Sommers, kind of a 90s action guy.
Yeah, he kind of got into doing sort of the big budget blockbuster type films with, previous to this, it was Deep Rising, which was kind of a monster creature feature. And then he went on to do Van Helsing.
Brendan Fraser, this is the height of his, I want to say early heyday, because now he has multiple heydays that we can look at. But, he was coming off the heels of a really big run in the 90s, George of the Jungle.
Right.
Airheads, Encino Man.
Where's the juice? No, where's the juice?
All of those kind of leading up to this moment where he kind of transforms into the action star.
Yeah. You know Brendan Fraser's Canadian also?
I knew that because they wouldn't let an American play Dudley Do-Right.
Did he play Dudley Do-Right?
Rachel Weisz, I don't think was really super well known at the time, but has since,
Might be the first thing I ever saw her in.
she's grown to a really big career since then. She was in the Dead Ringers remake recently.
Oh, that's interesting.
So she was the Jeremy Irons characters in that.
That is not what we want to be doing, though. But it might be, but it's not. But it could be, but it's not.
Yeah, John Hannah's in it. He's a lot of fun. I got to know him a little more from other series that he did later on down the road. In the Spartacus TV series, he played the slave owner over like Spartacus, married to Lucy Lawless. It was such a good show. So many dongs.
I shall perform all duties required of me.
All of those cast members are coming back for the 2028 film. This was a big deal when it came out whenever I was, 13 in 1999. I was of the right age range for this, a PG-13 kind of action film. It's not got a lot of cursing or gore or anything like that, but it's plenty violent. It's got plenty going on.
But it's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this part freaked me out back when I was a kid.
I saw the original Raiders of the Lost Ark at more or less the same time you saw this. And I think if that's the target age.
And I think all of these themes are a lot of what a lot of the critics and even user reviewers kind of picked up on. On Metacritic, its Metascore was a 48. Not great. Not a passing grade. Yeah, the critics really did not like this. Users liked it a lot more. 7.7 user score on Metacritic.
This just keeps getting better and better.
Its average rating on Letterboxd was a 3.6. And on IMDb, it has a 7.1 rating. Devin Gordon with Newsweek said, "This remake is a live-action cartoon, all brio and no brains."
Fine.
Letterboxd user said, "I'd like to thank Rachel Weisz for playing an integral role in my sexual awakening." So good for her. An IMDb user called it Raiders of the Lost Ark meets the Terminator. I think that's a pretty apt comparison there. We begin with Imhotep's backstory. Kind of a story of how Imhotep had a fling with one of the pharaoh's mistresses and gets him killed in a very ceremonious way.
It's buried Beverly Hills 90210 in Egypt.
I don't think so. I think you're mad because you came in here and caught me with the girl the other night.
You don't know how intimidating Jim Walsh can be.
Oh, I know exactly how intimidating Jim Walsh can be.
From there, we skip into, not quite modern day, early 20th century, the present of the film itself, where we see Brendan Fraser, Benny. The battle goes south. Benny goes into hiding.
Hey!
Benny, you bastard. And Brendan Fraser gets captured and imprisoned for a few years.
They get a fancy font for their subtitles.
Mm-hmm. They didn't just use papyrus.
Well, it's almost something like that.
He just put it in bold.
We take another little time jump and we meet Rachel Weisz working in the library. And that's kind of how we get to know what her character is all about. She's very educated. She knows all about hieroglyphics and ancient Egypt history.
But she's kind of a klutz.
Yeah. Hate it when that happens.
You just got to re-alphabetize all that stuff in Egyptian, probably, or whatever.
Librarians love alphabetizing stuff, though.
I am the only person within 1,000 miles who knows how to properly code and catalogue this library.
Evie goes and meets O'Connell as he's imprisoned, and she finds out that he's kind of got some knowledge of this hidden city. He can guide them to it. So they get him out, they get moving, and we also find out that there is this band of Americans that is being led to the same treasure by another person with knowledge, and that's how we get Benny back into the equation.
Well, if it ain't my little buddy Benny.
He's now leading this team of rivals. They're on this river boat that's going out towards Hamunaptra. And that's where we kind of get, I think he said during the screening, we've got like 25 characters here.
Well, there was one point in the film where I just had to stop and I was like dizzy because I was like, where are we now? And like, who is that guy again? I hope Gal Gadot comes down the stairs and does her champagne monologue.
That would be so awesome.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
To fill the Nile. I like that idea, like there's a rival, but one guy, maybe.
There's 4 of them. And they all look alike.
Americans.
To be fair, as we go, it does get whittled down.
Well, that's why we're saying I think half of these are like almost like a Friday the 13th.
Cannon fodder. He's
what if he had like
level 38, so he's unlocked dual wielding.
Pow, 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 pow.
It looks to me like I've got all the horses!
It looks to me like you're on the other side of the river.
You're on the wrong side of the river!
I love that line. They're both going for the treasure. That's kind of what brought them there, is they're trying to raid Hamunaptra. You know, they actually just shot this in Burbank.
That's a rip from Lawrence of Arabia. They kind of like pretend like they're going to work together, but really each is jockeying for advantage.
And that's what happens when the American crew comes across this kind of box of what they think is treasures, but it's cursed artifacts.
It's a curse! Beware of the curse! Beware!
Stupid, superstitious bastard.
Everybody there is there to ravage and to take.
It's with such a very fine price.
I like that guy so much. Rachel Weisz steals Jumanji Dad's book.
You're not a postal worker, are you?
She reads the phrase that awakens Imhotep. So this is all her fault.
It's like Adam and Eve ate the apple, right?
Yeah, dude, if it was Adam and Steve, none of this would have ever happened.
I know.
Now his goal is to regenerate.
There's always a moment where the monster has to go right into the camera.
you to leave or die.
This is where Tattoo Guy,
he comes and tells them they got to get the f out of there because they just awakened.
He's part of a force that is sworn to protect Hymenoptera and to stop Imhotep. I guess should he arise. He knows the lore and everything. He explains that they have to destroy Imhotep before he fully regenerates.
Now you may have killed us all.
Ardeth Bay, that's the character's name?
Bay is right. He's the hottest one in the movie, in a movie full of hot people.
Should mention that Benny has become now Imhotep's kind of whipping boy because he was about to kill him, right?
He's gonna play all sides. He's got all of the religious symbols just in case. So when he starts speaking Hebrew, Imhotep says, "Oh, that's the language of the slaves. So I'm actually going to use you." And then he and everybody else go back to the city.
That hotel.
End of job, end of story, contract terminated.
That's all I am to you, a contract.
Look, you can either tag along with me or you can stay here and try and save the world.
This reminds me of an SCTV sketch where they basically do this scene. The scene's in every kind of adventure, jungle adventure movie where the boy and the girl fighting all the time. It's Catherine O'Hara. They do it 3 different times, that type of a scene. One in a sci-fi movie.
What are you doing here?
I'm just taking a walk.
One in a Western and one a jungle kind of movie.
Let me remind you, Mr. Craig, that my father hired you as a wagon scout and not as a babysitter.
It's just a stock scene. Star-crossed lovers, they always have to be clashing.
I'll get back to camp.
Oh, I must have stumbled.
Mean it!
Prince Imhotep thanks you for your hospitality.
Imhotep goes to the hotel where everyone's staying, and then we discover his fear of cats.
They only used that a couple of times. They really should have leaned into that more. They should have all had a cat strapped to them.
Look at I got.
He turns the whole city into mindless zombies to help him kind of regain everything he needs to. It's like January 6th.
Oh, God. He eventually ends up capturing Evie.
Yes.
And
taking her back to Hymenoptera to fulfill the resurrection of his lover. And Brendan Fraser is not going to take that lying down. So he teams up with Tattoo Face Guy, Evie's brother, and hires a pilot. Looks like that character from that Ghibli movie.
Fight me, pig! One-on-one! Forget it.
That's where we kind of get our, I want to say the main sequence of the whole film is them kind of being chased by that big sandstorm. That's the big moment in the trailer. That's the big moment on the poster. The pilot, unfortunately, doesn't even survive that incident. He gets, the fitting quicksand send-off. So our heroes make it back to Hymenoptera to save Evie. And I think you noted this during the screening, but it's kind of a shame that her character was so smart, so capable, and she essentially in the third act gets reduced to just a damsel in distress. They arrive just as Imhotep is kind of getting his ritual,
doing the ritual,
his resurrection ritual underway. We kind of see the humanoid kind of figure rise from the water as his lover is kind of being brought back to life.
What is going on here? What is this?
He needs to get the life goo into...
This is life goo?
Life goo, yeah. It's the same stuff from the TLC Waterfalls video. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
But there's a tremendous fight sequence there that harkens back to, I don't know, Jason and the Argonauts. With this army of soldiers that Imhotep summons, I guess, from the afterlife. And
but my favorite haughty Ardeth kind of recedes into the madness as he's fighting off some of these undead soldiers, and that kind of led to believe that he's kind of lost in the battle, but thankfully he comes back in the end. The plan comes really close to coming together, but our heroes manage to break the curse, and they send his lover back into the depths of wherever it is that she came from.
And then this chariot from the gods comes down and
takes him back to the underworld.
Takes Imhotep back to the underworld.
Benny, who's been around this whole time, he managed to slip out of Imhotep's grip as everybody's escaping, and almost makes it out himself, but not quite. I think his greed and his cowardice kind of finally gets the best of him.
Them escaping and the temple is falling around them. And the exploding base. It's just like a James Bond movie. Everyone is restored and happy ending.
And I think they'd set it up kind of loosely for a sequel, and
is there a ride off into the sunset?
I can't remember. So let's hit fast forward, because after 1999, this franchise kept going. 2001 gave us The Mummy Returns.
Oh no, not these guys again.
Had all of our main cast members come back. John Hannah, Rachel Weisz, Brendan Fraser.
They have a kid.
They have a kid now, so she is the mummy.
I haven't seen this one. From what I gather, it's not as beloved as the first.
Definitely not. I think its biggest moment, unfortunately, is the emergence of the Scorpion King. All of a sudden, a PlayStation 1 character comes in.
We've seen plenty of awful CG, but in a major Universal major studio picture, that it was pretty bad.
Maybe that's why Rachel Weisz didn't want to come back for the third one.
She's like, oh, if we're going to be doing this, I better move on.
So the third one, they went a different direction, more of a kind of Asian lore with Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. If you didn't fall off in 2001, this is probably where you fell off.
Right. 2016-17's Universal Studios decided they were going to do their Dark Universe series, which was a revival of all their existing horror IPs.
To a new world of gods and monsters.
They decided they were going to reboot all this stuff and, bring them to a new audience. Unfortunately, what they started with was in 2017, starring Tom Cruise, just called The Mummy, right?
She will not stop until she has remade our world into her own.
The timing was wrong. The star was wrong. The script was wrong. Just a big fiasco. It was a big, expensive, just mess of a movie. I've tried to watch that movie twice. I have never finished it. I cannot get through it.
Bad.
It's that bad. It's like inert below freezing. Like there's nothing going on in that. I don't know how to describe it. It's the dullest, least engaging piece of entertainment. And you think with all those elements, at least it would be
Tom Cruise.
At least it would be a good action picture or something. It's not a good action picture. It's not a good horror picture. It's not a good adventure picture. It's just like a nothing of a movie. But that just sealed the fate of this Dark Universe thing. And they have stopped. I'm going to ask you two questions. When do you think the very first identifiable mummy movie, what year?
Maybe sometime in the 1920s, 100 years ago.
1899.
We had movies back then?
Georges Méliès, the pioneer French filmmaker, silent era, did a film called Cleopatra's Tomb, which involves a mummy sequence. Second question, how many, in terms of films that have what we would consider, a mummy character or some kind of mummy theme or whatever, how many films do you think have been done?
A dozen.
138.
What the? That's way too many mummies.
A land of strange rituals and savage cruelty.
The Hammer films of the 50s and 60s. I think Christopher Lee's mummy film, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty well regarded. Later on, we see Cleopatra. In the 90s, we had a lot of it too. We had Stargate. They like the idea of, uncovering
all of these big, mysterious things from the past.
Almost every culture has a mummy film. There are Bollywood films called Mummy, including up recently in 2023, there's a Bollywood film called Pizza 3, The Mummy.
Pizza 3, The Mummy.
Yes. There's one from 1987 called Dak Bangla by the Ramsey brothers, which is another Bollywood kind of mummy movie.
We've got to check these out. There was an Egyptian craze.
There was a fascination with the folklore and the mystery of the Orient. I'm putting that in quotation marks, capital O.
Look here, the unbroken seals of the pharaoh Amenophis. Some temple treasure.
Using exotic cultures as the other, things like curses and kind of supernatural things, that was always portrayed as this exotic culture. But a lot of Western archaeological digs were underway around that era, and there was particularly the discovery of King Tut's tomb.
As my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room within emerged slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold.
Did you and kids your age have like an Egypt phase?
We had a huge Egypt phase because in 1970 something, the King Tut collection toured the world and came to Seattle, and my parents went down to see it.
After all these years, 33 centuries, this Egyptian boy is a bigger celebrity than any of them.
Even, I think a lot of my fellow 90s kids would remember, there was an Egyptian craze kind of going on within the schools. I think there was something going on with our textbooks.
I think kids are always fascinated by dinosaurs and archaeological stuff.
I condemn you to the realm of the ancient dead. You mean Miami?
But yeah, this craze of, everything from, like Art Deco. There's a lot of Art Deco ornamentation that is Egyptianate, We have here in Hollywood the famous Egyptian theater started by Sid Grauman.
Is that kind of also the idea behind the Chinese theater, is just kind of that obsession with the other, with the Orient, is that kind of in the same vein?
It comes out of the same vein, yeah. Even Frank Lloyd Wright, in his architecture, a lot of his temple style stuff, if you look at the Barnstable and Ennis Brown House, are, I think, more in it's like the Mayan
revival,
but it's an offshoot of that, is using these kind of quote unquote primitive cultural ideas, motifs, because of this fascination with the exotic, with the mystery of the East or the mystery of the other. If you're living in the Los Angeles area or you're visiting the Los Angeles area, we've got the California Science Center, which at the time of this taping is hosting a mummy exhibition.
They're not just in the movies, they're here in real life.
And yeah, if you want to get some more realistic and more historically accurate and close-up stuff, I'm interested in checking it out. We think of Egyptian mummies as your go-to when you think of somebody says mummy.
The guy wrapped in toilet paper.
The guy wrapped in the bandages and kind of a zombie almost. But, the practice of mummification exists almost in every culture throughout history. And in fact, I think some of the oldest known artifacts, discoveries of mummified remains come from China.
Oh, wow.
That predate the Egyptian mummification by thousands of years. But California Science Center, it's always great.
Careful! I think perhaps we should let the diggers open it.
Yeah, sure.
Let's hit pause. There's one part when they're about to open it and they suspect, oh, maybe it's booby trapped. Let's just get the diggers to open. I wanted to call it a trope, but it's not even a trope. It's a real life thing. Whenever imperialist forces go into areas like this to raid and pillage or do whatever they do, they use the locals as meat shields. Yeah. We saw it in Alex Garland's Warfare. It's about a crew of American forces in Iraq, and one of the first things they do is they send their interpreters out to go check and see if something's safe.
Go, break out! Go! Hold up.
And of course they get sniped.
Or they promise, hey, we'll let you come to the United States after that and give you full, and then when they do, they say, actually, no, we're not going to.
We're just going to leave you behind.
This idea of the European adventurer in a foreign exotic land and then kind of using these areas and these people as just kind of their playthings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
I have a really hard time romanticizing any of that.
Right. Well, that's
in my 2020s lens, but
absolutely. But immigrants also, they used to pay, the Chinese workers on the railroads to go place the dynamite when you're in a position to exploit somebody like that, because either they need the money or they need, whatever, they're desperate for whatever. That's just par for the course.
You said this is the best Indiana Jones fan film ever made.
In a way, Raiders of the Lost Ark already was a fan film. Raiders started off initially as Spielberg wanting to do a James Bond movie. So already...
I had no idea.
George Lucas said, I have something better. The ideas in the film were so inspired by what Spielberg and Lucas had grown up with. Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, cliffhanger serials, westerns, where it'd be like every episode ended with like, what will happen to our hero next? Tune in next week, or, like that kind of thing. So already, Raiders of the Lost Ark is a throwback. It's in a way, a fan film. But as we were watching, I definitely was saying to myself over and over again, Stephen Sommers has really learned his craft from Spielberg.
Yeah, you can see the inspiration, the Spielberg inspiration in this. It was the fingerprints, the DNA all over it.
I'll give you one example of the kind of Spielberg lessons that I just directly see. Spielberg probably also took it from another, whether it's John Ford or some, Hitchcock type thing. But the idea that when you're showing something violent, perhaps, you don't always have to show what the character is seeing, but just show the character. Well, there's two things. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. There are several sections where they cut to the kid watching Indiana Jones fight, and then you sort of see the shadows of Indiana Jones doing the fighting behind him. But specifically, there's another Spielberg shot in Empire of the Sun where Christian Bale, his best friend, played by John Malkovich, I think, gets beaten up by the Japanese guards in the prison camp. And it's just a really heartbreaking moment. They don't really show Malkovich getting beat up. They cut to Christian Bale and his face flinching.
Your peripheral vision will show you him getting beaten and you'll hear the sounds. But your look is to basically hear.
You're filling in the picture of what he's seeing.
And that makes it more powerful, I think.
And what he's seeing, what he's experiencing. There was an exact shot like this in The Mummy where Benny is watching the mummy suck, how he's sucking the life out of people. And we just cut to Benny's face and he's wincing, and he looks away and we just stay on him.
Yeah.
So you don't have, first of all, you saved some money on the effects. You don't have to show that. But we kind of already know what's happening.
You save some money and you leave it to the imagination, which makes it in some ways.
It's a double win.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what you want. You want the audience to help meet you halfway. And so when I saw The Mummy the first time, I didn't love it. I thought it was kind of fun enough, and the reason I went to see it was because of Jerry Goldsmith, the composer, who I just, basically would go see any of his movies. So when you saw it, though, The Mummy, what was your take?
My impression of The Mummy, I think, had come not so much from all of the things in the past that inspired it, but more just from the marketing of the film itself. The big sand face and all of the special effects.
This is sort of a gateway film. The 90s were a period where, Jurassic Park really opened the floodgates. They wanted to do the dinosaurs stop motion again, or the newfangled version of stop motion, which was go motion. If you move the puppet during the exposure, or take a frame, but it's moving during that frame, you get a blur. And that was the little secret sauce. The film Dragon Slayer was such a kind of watershed moment for visual effects, is because that was one of the first users of this thing called go motion. And
they smoothed out that jerkiness.
You get this motion blur when the character is moving that you would normally get. They originally wanted to do Jurassic Park like that, or they were considering things, but it took ILM to say, hey, we want to try to do these as fully CG-generated characters blended with live action. They weren't convinced they could do it at first. So it was a big risk, but they pulled it off, and everyone was like, their jaws were dropped from the effects in Jurassic Park. That opened the watergates. Let's just go crazy now with CG, because we can do anything now.
Yeah.
And
that was only 5 years prior to this.
Right. In this film, we're seeing a halfway point where there is still a fair amount of practical in-camera work. The opening scene where we meet Evie at first, and she knocks over all the bookshelves.
So doing that practically, you get the weightiness of it. But I'm
almost convinced if they did that now, it would just be CG. But then we see them trying to pull off CG characters. Like Imhotep's character goes from being fully CG generated to being like the actor who plays him, becoming just fully human, basically. And then, like you were saying, the sand effect, that was doing particle animation, like things like water and sand and stuff like that became a big thing. Remember the Michael Jackson video, which was also Egyptian. He kept spinning and turning into sand and stuff like that. That was a big thing. We also started to see there is environment animation. And at the end, where they're escaping the exploding base, stuff that would cost millions and millions to construct that set, you can now do it, on a green screen. Looking back at this now, it's interesting because some of it still holds up and some of it doesn't, and you're like, oh, that's very 1990s, effects work. But it was kind of what I would say is kind of the beginning of this homogenization of visual effects. We like to talk about films that are good companion pieces or that reminded us of, or something that's better than almost when we talk about these films. What do you got?
I was brought back to a similar time, a similar star, well, the same star, and kind of a similar kind of conversation around special effects. The year 2000, Brendan Fraser starred in Bedazzled with Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh my God.
7 wishes for one piddling little soul.
Is this real?
It could be. Sign it, Elliot.
Oh, you just hurt my head.
I'm so sorry that this is my recommendation.
What's next? 2 If by C? Don't do 2 If by C.
But no, I bring this up because this was actually the very first DVD that I ever saw.
Was Bedazzled?
Was Bedazzled.
Okay.
I don't think that by 2000, I think they were becoming more common.
More The Matrix or...
more kind of in everyone's household by then, but we didn't have one. I think we went to some rich friend's house and we rented this movie and watched it on their new system, and it was a crazy experience. I mean, even just like seeing the DVD menu. Prior to that, I've only ever operated a VCR where you just pop it in and it plays. And, just the concept of being able to select your scene and all of that, brand new to me. And Bedazzled was kind of my gateway into that.
One film I wanted to bring up is The Thief of Baghdad.
I always wanted to be a hero. Come on.
It's inspired by the Arabian Nights, and it's set in this kind of fantasy world. There's flying carpets, there's robotic horses, I think, at one point. Every visual effect. It's an early example of an effects film that has trying to bring to life this kind of fantasy folklore. It's all very innocent, and it's all very, early. It's, some of the blue screen work is, it doesn't look photorealistic the way they do now, but it has a charm to it. Watching this movie just sort of makes you feel like a kid again. But it is a landmark film for visual effects, and in fact, on the supplements, there is a visual effects documentary with interviews with Ray Harryhausen, Dennis Muir, and Craig Barron. Best of all, as actually on the film itself, there's a commentary track with Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese, who cite this as one of their favorite childhood films
that's so awesome.
All time. Can you imagine sitting in a room with Francis Coppola and Martin Scorsese, having them talk about a movie with you? And
much less one that mattered so much to them as kids.
Right. They are just amazing to listen to. They have so many great stories and so many personal reflections on the film and what it meant to them. You know how I proselytize about physical media, but the fact that this exists and you can access this and listen to those two master filmmakers talk about a film that meant so much to them and was so seminal in their film life is just, it's a treasure. It really is.
Suck it, Netflix.
Well, did you enjoy it again? Well, you hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, no. It brought back a lot of memories watching it for the first time in 20 some odd years. And I think in a lot of ways, it really does still hold up.
Despite some of the little criticisms I have about it, it's still a fun watch.
And it was made even more fun knowing kind of how Brendan Fraser's trajectory went. Yeah. That he kind of disappeared for a while after this, and now he's had such a huge comeback. Watching this in the wake of that, it was fun.
And then his getting to do a fourth film is kind of like, throw him a bone. Come on.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then there was light.
So that's our look at the 1999 Mummy movie. Let us know below what you think of this movie, if it still holds up, and if you're looking forward to any of the upcoming Mummy stuff that's down the road.
If you like your content created by humans for humans in this age of AI slop, give us a like and a subscribe. Let us know what you want to see us cover next.
So thanks for joining us in the Cinema Sandbox. I'm Christopher G.
I'm Jordan Sherwood.
See you next time.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.